Our segment here deals with metallic finishes, glitter, glitz, the sort of effect that we see in what happens with a lot of the product that's out there. And if you look at the trends, you know, those of you that have been around a while can remember that for a few years nothing had glitter on it, and then there was a little bit of glitter with some jeweling, and then there was jeweling on everything, and we're seeing that evolution, that change, that growth of sort of the metallic finishes on things. And it's a way to really personalize holiday items and make them so effective. And so we're going to start here with silver. You know, silver has not been real strong, but there is some resurgence of silver because silver is such an important part of home decor in terms of serving pieces. And yet some people have very light interiors, love the silver effect. It transitions well into the Hanukkah effect and so forth. Now this metallic tree is really great because sometimes you have places that you cannot hook it up and can't light it. Well, if you use a metallic tree, it's fabulous because it gives you all the glitter and glitz with any light that catches it reflects back. Now we're doing a merchandise tree here. What is a merchandise tree? A merchandise tree is a tree that's been designed so that the customer, the consumer, can feel comfortable to pick ornaments off the tree to buy. It's the best way to sell ornaments in your store. And if it's a price tag attached, then it is pretty evident that it's available to buy. Now, in doing that merchandising on the tree, it's also nice to add bins below so that those customers who don't have to have one off the tree can take one out of the bin. I love them because they have clips on the bottom, so it's easy to clip them right onto the branch of the tree. Notice this one's head's facing straight forward. There's some turned left, some turned right. So we have all political persuasions found in these birds. And they're inexpensive. I think they're like $12.50, $12.75 for a box of 12. So a lot of look. And so we have added those there. Also, as we come around, you see the silver candelabra +1 product, which is available here. It's a lot of look if you do parties and you do rentals. It really is great. And we're showing it with, and this is nickel plated, so you don't have to polish it, which is the really good part. We're also showing the tulip votive cups in there using the acolytes. These are great because so many areas now you cannot use open flame. Even if it's covered, you just can't use open flame in public space. These work great, and these are so good because they do turn on and off. They have batteries which can be replaced, and it's really a great product. And all the acolytes are located up front at the sales counter. So if you want acolytes, they are up there. And you say, how long do they burn? This is the third day. These have been turned on every morning and left on until the programs are over, turned off, and turned back on. We're in the third day on these. So they burn about 15 to 20 hours. How do you make brown? It comes from the deepest values of red with those other things blended in. But when you go to brown, you have to have something to bring up that color. You got to create that excitement. And when you do the metallics and the golds in there, it's so wonderful. We also see the addition of feathers in here, and feathers being brown toned. But see how these feathers have been highlighted with a little copper glitter on the edge, and it makes it very holiday looking. This tree, just as this tree, is a merchandising tree because all the things in here can simply be pulled out. They're just tucked in, just quickly done. I didn't want to make the whole tree because maybe you don't sell that whole tree, but you can show people how to buy the individual elements that are there. And one of the things to remember too is when you go with really dark colors like brown and deep gold, adding creams and ivories to that lighten it and give it a whole different sort of excitement. And it's important so that it doesn't get so dark. If we turn these lights off, you'd see this gets really dark. So when you go to these deep rich colors, you got to have plenty of light to render those colors. The wreath here has one of these chicken feather boas which are great. They have that red tone and they look so elegant. They're only about 4 feet long. So one of them is not long enough to go completely around this. But look what, from a design point of view, it starts at the top, it works its way around, it ends there. And then we've used the ribbon to compensate for the part that does not have the boa. So you're keeping it at a sellable price point. Also, this wreath has simply been wrapped with one of these garlands. This pre-made garland over an inexpensive wreath, tying it in with the tines of the wreath, and then tucking in the feathers, and then a few pieces of this beautiful gilded laurel has actually been pushed through and twisted around the wire frame. So as you see, these flowers, poinsettias, of course, are our traditional Christmas flower. If you totally expose everything, it's not nearly as exciting as it is if you have to kind of look for it. So taking 2 bolts of ribbon that were left from other projects and stapling it in the ceiling and tying a few ornaments on it so that you look through that. Now if you were doing a window display, you can take this and put a little small fan down in the bottom of the window so that these ribbons are always moving. That kinetic energy there creates a lot of excitement in that space. And you can do the same thing even at your home around a tree. If you have acoustical ceiling, a corsage pin can be pinned in there. It doesn't really damage it, and you can hang from it in the store. But it's just a fun, exciting way to make a difference in the overall appearance of the space. Here we've taken one of the natural trunked Christmas trees, the natural pine trunk, that was on a flat metal base. But one of the ways that you can make the ordinary product become extraordinary, or to make it creatively yours, is by taking it away from its natural essence, taking the base off of it, repotting it into a container. Here and here. These look like so much more than the ordinary artificial tree, because they have been given a living feeling by being potted. It's just like this little tree here. You know, this is like the lowest common denominator, a burlap bag with a small tree in it. Be pretty sitting on a desk. It's really great because this one has 2 AA batteries, and you can turn it on with the LED lights, with the flashes, or go the other way and it stays on all the time. But if you take that tree and pop it into a container, how much more this becomes. Now we left it so we could get to our battery, so we can turn on our battery pack. And now we've taken a very inexpensive tree, put it into a very contemporary looking pot, potted it up, and the inexpensive product becomes very exciting and different than those other 40 sitting on the shelf. Now we've trimmed this with a few gold berries and 1 strand of bugle bead garlands. This is probably one of the hottest items we've had this whole season. Everybody's loved these. It's bugle beads on a wire, 25 feet of wire with bugle beads on there and a little decorative thing every now and then. $1.85 for 25 feet. So, you know, and everything you buy today is 10% discount, so that's really inexpensive. Price point, garlands and wreaths and trees, lighted or unlighted, there's not a huge amount of difference, but if they're lighted, they look like so much more. This is a lighted tree here, a lighted wreath with just a few of the glitter poinsettias. Added to that some of the 12-gauge aluminum wire that's been around that we all love to use for all sorts of things, swirled in and through that. And over here, a garland that's pre-lighted with 1 box of the redbirds clipped onto the ends and 1 of the red bugle bead garlands. And this ribbon in that garland is there's not a single bow in there. It's just a loop of ribbon twisted with the tine of the garland, and come down with a little bit more. And see how big and full that looks? Yet it's less than 1 bolt of ribbon, 1 garland, and some birds. So it's a great way to merchandise, but it's also a great way to display. And finally, our ornaments that we want to feature. For example, here, this is a nice container, but was a flat green color. So we added some 24 karat Design Master to it to give it a little bit glossier metallic finish. 2 stems of vining material. We added a little bit of extra stems to make it stronger, wrapped it with the 12 gauge aluminum wire, and left a hook in the center to hang an ornament. How many customers have a $40, $50, $60 Radco Santa and they don't want to put it on the tree because they're afraid it'll get lost or broken? But do something like this to show how you can really make that piece exciting. You can make this is like making a frame for a photograph, and you're putting it here, and maybe they've gone to a condo or a small apartment, they're not doing a tree anymore, but they can pull out a favorite ornament and feature it on the arrangement that you've made for them. This trellis is done the same way, except that we did wires coming out so you could hang 3 or 4 ornaments there. So it's alternatives to traditional Christmas trees. It's about trying to meet the needs of the customer, giving them something that makes your store exceptional and special, that makes them excited to come there to buy from you because you have the things that make them happy. And the whole season of Christmas